Hi everybody, Nathan here, back for another usual Saturday vlog. It is currently March 11th, so if you're new to photography or just simply want to learn a little bit more, stick around because we're going to go down the water and we're going to, adjust some settings on our camera to see how things work and, just a little bit of ins and outs on how you can improve your photos and how I, improve my photos. Thanks guys. So we're down here by the Georges River today. We're going to be talking a little bit about how a camera functions. But first of all, I'm going to have to get through some basics. What is a camera? What's in a camera? And how does a camera work? This right here, that's a camera. Within this camera, there are a few components. You have the aperture. You have the shutter, which is this thing here. And you have the sensor. Those three parts are make up the main components of how the camera operates in terms of taking a picture. The first thing I'm going to talk to you about today is aperture, and this is all about light. Now these videos are going to go over a separate 3-video series. I'm going to release them week by week. It'll be all filmed today, all shot today, as much as I can get through anyway. And you can check them out up at the coming weeks. For the moment, just be sure to click the subscribe button to keep updated with those videos when they do get released. Maybe give me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed this so far. So we're going to be focusing on aperture today. So the aperture is this ring that opens and closes depending on what you want. The smaller the hole, the less light that comes through. The larger the hole, the more light that comes through. The larger the hole, the shallower the depth of field, the more blurred the image is at the back and the image at the front is sharper. The smaller the hole, the more extreme depth of field, more extreme everything is. For example, this here is an aperture of 8, about 8. So it's not everything, it doesn't need to be extreme because it's only a small background. It's not like I'm trying to get a landscape shot out there, but it's just enough that I can get everything in the picture without it getting too either overdone, blurry, or... So we're going to go straight into aperture now. So as you can probably see now, we have our camera set up. So this is kind of an aperture effect here, what my phone's producing. Apologies for the video quality. As you can see in front here, just here, we have a little flower. So I'm going to show you how aperture affects macro photography and how it works well with macro photography, I should say. Now we have our camera prepared and ready, so you can adjust the little dial up here. Aperture priority, shutter priority. As you can see, you can set the shutter and the camera will automatically set the aperture and ISO for you. And the same with aperture, the reverse, you set the aperture and it automatically picks the correct shutter speed and ISO for you. But today we're just going to be shooting on manual mode. So as we see, let's go here. You can see, if we adjust our focus, I always love to go manual focus. You can see the depth of field changes. So picture your focus as a plane, an invisible plane that's moving across the picture and back across the picture. So you can see here the invisible plane starts at the very front. As you move it along, you can see everything along. The background gets sharper, the midground gets sharper, and the foreground gets sharper. I'm just going to move this a little bit closer. I'll move the phone a bit closer too, just so we get that right in center frame. Okay, so we're going to be playing with depth of field. So let's go back in, so you can see that's fine, let's focus well, put it into manual mode, make sure everything's as crystal clear sharp. If you are a bit worried about something being a bit blurry, just zoom in there, and there we go. There we go. Right. So now we're going to be adjusting the correct settings. So let's take a photo with the background blurred. So let's go back, let's click this. So that there's your shutter speed. So let's just for today's purposes set 125. You won't particularly understand what I'm saying here, but let's set it to 1.25 to 2.8. Let's make that background, this 2.8 will make the background blurry and your front subject is clear as day. Now because this is such a low number and that's such a high number, I think what we're going to have to do here is take this up to 200. Now you can see that's a bit overexposed there. So let's take our ISO. Let's just buzz our ISO down. One stop. And let's take a picture. There we go. Maybe just take that down one more stop. Keep it at 200, maybe just take this up or down. Now, my lighting is set to fluorescent today. It's not really a fluorescent lighting. The Kelvins aren't that. We'll get into Kelvins later, you don't have to worry about that. Now let's examine our picture here. Now, as you can see this picture, see how the whole background here is completely blurry and this whole front is actually crystal clear? That's exactly what we're looking for. So that is a shallow depth of field. That's with your aperture at a stop of 2.8, between say 1.8 and maybe 5. No, sorry, 5.6. Anything above, everything between 1.8 and 5.6 is pretty good in terms of getting macro and blurred out background. You can do this for many effects, even portraiture. You can have the blurred background and the subject dead center in the middle. If you're doing portraiture, don't go for a 2.8 aperture because it could potentially blur out like certain like specific things in a picture. If you've got someone that's holding something in a picture, you also want that sharp. I'd suggest going for like maybe a 5.6 or maybe a 6 or something, because you want to actually have that in the picture as well. Now we're going to go extreme depth of field with this photo. So let's go ahead and set up our camera again. Instead of having a shallow depth of field, we're going to have an extreme depth of field. So we want to take our aperture down. Now down, I know it's now I'm going up, but in photography it's the reverse. You're going down. Down a stop, up a stop, down a stop, up a stop. Because we're exposing the image. At extreme depth of field, we want something at about 16. And that is quite high. So if I take this now, you see how dark this is going to be? Now we can't see a thing there, can we? So let's go ahead and change this. We'll put this on about a 1/6. Anything below 1/60th and shutter, we'll get to this, but you'll need a tripod because it can start to get wobbly. So now we also want to change our ISO. We'll make that about an 800. Let's give that a test. Now see that's perfect. You can see how that's actually perfect, but this meter here we'll get into, it's saying it's a little bit overexposed. So let's maybe take that down one. And let's get our picture lined up. There. Let's get that. See the field plane moving again. We'll get that about there. Now can you see everything this time? Let's go back to this picture. Even though it's blurry here, go back to this picture. Everything in there is sharp. Now that is extreme depth of field. You can get that with a lot. So on a sunny day like this, I'd recommend setting if you want to get everything in a picture, I'd recommend setting your aperture to about an f11. F11's good. You can even go for a 16, which is a sunny 16 wall, which we can get into that a little bit later. But that pretty much wraps that up for like aperture. Like it's quite simple and easy to use. Right, so there you have it. That's the basic tips of aperture. So I'm going to put on the screen right now all the pictures. I'm just going to quickly explain. This picture here, this is a shallow depth of field, so it'll be an aperture range of about 1.8 to 5.6 is probably the best if you want to get that blur. This has a larger hole that's more light in. Now this picture here, this is an extreme depth, not exactly extreme depth of field, but it's a lower aperture range or higher. You get it. But this here, everything in the background and foreground is crystal clear, and that's a smaller hole that's less light in. When you've got a less light in, what does that mean? If I want to take a photo of a beautiful landscape, I want to set my aperture to about the f16 or something, just to get everything in, the image is going to come out dark unless you do something else. This is why you need to adjust 3 separate settings. So I've covered the first, which is aperture. So next we're going to be covering shutter speed. And shutter speed is very useful for a lot of things. It makes very good creative projects, same with aperture. stay tuned, guys. Subscribe. I'm going to keep recording after this. I can maybe, if I record enough footage and edit enough footage, I can upload them together, so you'll be able to focus on that. So if you did enjoy that video, please subscribe. You'll love it. This video here, you can check out. It's great. And there's my subscribe button just down on my channel, or I upload every Saturday. Thanks, guys. Catch you next time, and have a great week.